Hi lovers, you're welcome again to another exciting episode on Eve's Desire by Tiwa Says. This is where you get your fun tips and ideas on how to have a more pleasurable sexual experience and also for intimacy. The topic for today is sexual consent. This is a topic that has gained prominence in recent years because of the increasing cases of rape and sexual assault. So what exactly is consent? Giving consent is actively agreeing to be intimate or to have sex with someone else. Consent is very critical when it comes to sex. Some men may say that women give mixed signals when it comes to sex, and some even say that when women say no, they actually mean yes. This is quite relative, and that is why communication is very key in everyday living. But how do you recognize consent? The easiest and foolproof way to know if you have consent is by asking your partner. And because consent is active and continuous, you have to keep checking in with your partner to know if they are still okay with what's going on and if you are on the same page. Consent that was given yesterday cannot work for today, and consent is needed for all forms of intimacy and not just penetrative sex. From the beginning, whether touching, kissing, consent is needed. Even if you agree to something, you can always change your mind along the line if you are beginning to find it uncomfortable or if you are not enjoying it any longer. Body language can also help you know if you have your partner's consent. If your partner is not smiling or not responding to your touches or kisses, this is an indication that your partner is probably not comfortable or not enjoying what is happening. It is important to note that silence is not always consent. Because your partner has not said no does not mean that it is okay to go on. So please note that. It is also difficult to give consent when you are drunk or when you are high. Even if the person is groping for it or asking for sex, they are not in the right frame of mind, so they don't know what you're doing. And if you go ahead to have sex with that kind of person, it simply means that you are taking advantage of the situation, and this is very wrong. This also goes for someone who is asleep or who is unconscious. To properly give consent, you have to be awake and sober. There are two types of consent. You have the enthusiastic consent and the informed consent. The enthusiastic consent involves you saying a direct yes, like what the heck, there's no fun in having sex or being intimate with someone who is not into it or who is not in the mood. It's always more fun when both parties are in the mood and both parties are active. Now, informed consent, and remember, consent can be withdrawn at any time. And just because someone gave consent to making out, which is kissing and touching, does not mean that you have consent for intercourse. You have to be clear. That is why it is important that you have a discussion about boundaries before going forward. Remember, consent can be withdrawn at any time. The fact that someone gave consent to making out, which is kissing and touching, does not mean that you have consent for intercourse. You have to have had a previous discussion and have set boundaries to know what you're going to do before going forward. So it is very important to be clear. Informed consent, on the other hand, can only work when you have all the facts and you and your partner are both honest with each other. For example, if you both decide that you're going to practice safe sex and your partner ends up not using a condom, that is not giving consent because the situation has changed. Having an erection does not equal consent. Our bodies have natural physiological responses to sexual activities. So whether you're having an erection, you're getting wet, or even having an orgasm, it does not equal consent. It does not mean that you have given consent just because your body responded. Consent is clear communication before and during sexual activity. Consent is needed for all types of intimacy, and consent is positive and informed. Now, to what consent is not. Consent is not silence or not saying no. Consent is not automatically granted just because you've had sex before. Consent is not granted if someone is asleep or high or drunk. Consent is not tied to someone's sexual behavior or to someone's way of dressing. Consent is not physiological responses such as having an erection, getting wet, or even having an orgasm. And lastly, consent is not continuing to ask someone for sex even after they have said no several times. So why is consent important? Consent is important because sex without consent is considered rape or sexual assault. And from statistics, we have seen that 1 in 6 women will be a victim of either attempted rape or complete rape. Interestingly, research also shows that not all rape cases or cases of assault happen in dark alleys or questionable places. In fact, more than half of the cases of rape cases and sexual assault cases happen very close to home. This is why recognizing and understanding consent is a great first step in combating this ill. By ensuring we always have informed and enthusiastic consent, we can normalize a healthier attitude towards sex. Thank you very much for sticking with me till the end of this video. And if you have learned a thing or two, why don't you click the like button and also subscribe so that you can get notifications for our future videos. And I'll be seeing you.